What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be starting on a new center console for the D100. Now, I've already built the center console for it. There are just some things that I'm not really happy with. So, doing a new one. Let's take a look. All right, so here's what I'm working with. When I bought this B&M ratchet shifter, I didn't want to bolt it to the floor. So I ended up building this frame for it and welding that frame to the cab and bolting the shifter to the frame. So that frame dictates basically the area I have to work with to build my center console. Now, the problem that I ran into with this setup was working around the cover for the B&M shifter. Because of the way that it's undercut here in the front and the back, it left gaps on the top flat part of the center console. It left a gap in the front and a gap in the back. And that's really what I'm not happy with. So that thing's got to go. So I think what I'm going to do is end up building like a wire frame to get the design laid out and go from there. So what I'm going to do is incorporate that cover for the switch into the center console, and that'll just give me another mounting point. But the frame that I've already built already has some holes that are drilled and tapped for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some square steel stock that I'm going to cut to size, mark for those mounting points, and that's going to be the start of my center console frame that I will then build. Probably going to build like a wire frame off of that, and we'll go from there. Just going to kind of wing it. I have an idea of what I want to do, but I like to just wing things. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut that square stock and get those holes marked and drilled. So here's the square stock I'm going to be using to start building my frame. Now, the frame that's welded in has 3 holes that are already drilled and tapped. So this is going to go to the side of it, which I'll then mark the holes and I'll drill through, and the screw will go through this and thread into this center frame. And this will give me my starting point to build the rest of the center frame off of. So the first thing I need to do is figure out, obviously this is too long, so I got to get the length that I need to cut these two, and then I'll clamp it on here, I'll mark the holes and get them drilled. Once I got the side rails done, it was time to start looking at the overall shape and how I want this console to look. So I'm thinking kind of right here around the shifter is going to be a real critical area. I want to make sure that I have enough clearance for it's probably going to be a sheet metal cover that comes over the shifter, and actually is going to be utilize a couple of these mounting points where the old cover used to mount. So what I want to do though is have this area here emulate this angle up until the high point here, and then I think I'm going to have it go straight where it goes forward. So I started with decided to do like a wire frame out of 1/8 rod, and I figured this will give me the opportunity to build a good shape without having to worry about using up a bunch of sheet metal or cardboard, or that's going to be real flimsy. This will give me just a good shape to build off of. It'll give me a good frame. So I took some 1/8" rod and I ran it back on both sides. There's a little lip or a little rise right in the back here that I had to deal with, and then I bent it up and across so it comes to just the right height that I wanted, so that when I do this sheet metal, it'll line right up there. And I made this little chipboard template that I used the actual shift cover to make the template. I did kind of narrow this slot a little bit. I felt this was too wide, so I narrowed that up a little bit, and this one where the shift indicator rides. So now I've got basically the size that I need for this area, and I've got it screwed in so that now I can look at the side of it, and it pretty much emulates this angle. I did use a spacer up here to raise this up a little bit. I felt that it sat too low and it caused the shift indicator to kind of ride and rub. So I raised up the front with a 1-inch spacer. And that gives me, again, I think it will give me the good emulation of this rise up to this high point here. And then it's going to come straight across. So now with this screwed in place though, I can use this to make another wire template that rides up. I think I'm going to make probably 3 of them. One for here, one for the inside, and then one for this edge. And that'll get me the center console to come up and straight forward. And then once I get that, I'll be able to build some more structure into it, some more frame, and then I can figure out, I think I want to come up underneath the center of the dash here. And I also want this area to be removable separate from the main structure so that I can get to my transmission access if need be. So, but for now I'm going to work on making these wire frames for this curve. So when it comes to working with this 1/8 rod, I want to make sure that I get good, consistent, even bends. I mean, I could sit here and try to mess with it by hand, but that might give me some inconsistencies in my bend. So I just built this little fixture. It's just some angle iron that I took some grade 8 bolts. I know, overkill, but whatever. Drilled and tapped the angle iron, cut the bolts flush to the bottom, welded them up, and then cut the heads off. And now this can just mount in the vise. Then once I want to start working with the rod and start bending it to shape, you just put it in there, it'll lock itself in. You can use the one bolt as a fulcrum and just get good bends in your 1/8 rod. Now that I got the first part done, there it is. I can make 2 more just like it. All right, so after doing a bunch of noodling around up there, I think I got something that I'm really liking. Let me show you. Threw the seat in here so I can kind of get a better feel for things. But here's what I came up with. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up. So I got the enclosure all built for the shifter. I'm going to work on the plate that covers this next. But then I recessed this area. It's about 1.5 inches deep or so. I think what I'm going to do here is have maybe a couple of USB ports in the back, and then just a flat area here to, you know, toss your cell phone, whatever. And then I'm thinking about doing like a fiberglass base on this, covered in some of this faux leather vinyl, or I actually have some actual leather left over from some other projects that I may use to line this. I think that might be a nice little touch. But I think now I'm going to work on the plate. It's going to cover the shifter area. Alright, so there you can see the finished cover for the shifter. I added a bit of patina to it just to match the rest of the interior, and I also went ahead and I did a little bead roll detail here that starts off really deep up here on both sides all the way across, and then as it comes down it gradually fades out so that it's smooth down here. So with that being done, next will be I'll probably work on this area here. It's going to drop down a little bit, and then this is going to be an area where I plan on having some cup holders, and then I'm going to try to get it to come up in the back so that I can have a bit of an armrest back here. So I think that'll be the next section that I'll work on. But that'll have to be for the next video. I think I'm going to close this one out here, make it a part 1, and then when I get around to working on the rest of it, then I'll continue with another video. But I have something really exciting to show you guys, and you just don't know. I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Let's see if I can give you guys a little sneak peek here. I've got my engine back. So that video will be coming. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll catch you on the next one.